Hi guys, and welcome to
The Result Show.
The Result Show. And today we are very excited again because we are because we are starting out. So you appear to be like rubbing. I think you're just changing your position. You're like you're rubbing your thighs.
No.
We are very excited because we're about to launch the first episode of our little mini masterclass, which is Selling Magically Express.
Indeed. And, we were talking about this when we were putting together the episodes. And we were having a discussion about how important in the sales process trust is.
Yes.
And I was just telling Pete that I had a personal experience of this, or more my partner did, because she needed to get her car MOT'd. And she took it to a household name, who shall be nameless. And
We know who you are, though.
and the first place that she took it to said, your MOT's not here. We subcontracted it out to another household name, who shall remain nameless, and which was in a completely different place. And by the time she actually got there, they said, "You've missed your time slot." So she came back, still no MOT. Then went back, had another appointment, went back again, and they basically, literally left her out in the cold. Didn't call her to say that the MOT was finished. So she had to go back herself to find that they'd failed the MOT, and also reported the car as being non-roadworthy.
Because actually, you said they actually told her, "Oh, we phoned the police."
Yeah. Which I've never heard of before.
I've never. No, that's just like why?
And then quoted, I think it was like 1,500 quid to put these things right.
Yeah.
One saying she needed a new exhaust, the other saying that she needed 2 rear shock absorbers. And the car was not roadworthy. Yeah. And I looked at it and I went, well, okay, these aren't things that would mean that a car wasn't roadworthy. Plus I don't actually, I looked at it and it was like 2 rear shock absorbers, 500 quid. And I searched for them on eBay and I could get 2 rear shock absorbers for 45 quid.
Yes.
So I said, look, forget them, just take it around the corner to the local garage. We've already done some stuff with us before. They said, interestingly, we can't look at it for 4 days because we're so busy.
Yeah.
We can't cope with the demand and the business. But she booked it in, and when she booked it in and she explained the situation, the guy who owns that garage just around the corner rolled his eyes and went, "Oh, not another one?
Yes.
You must be the 3rd or 4th person that's been in, having had the experience that Jane had had." And he said, strangely, the quote for the repairs was exactly the same amount for all 3 or 4 people, 1,500 quid. Well, long story short, she got all the repairs. They told her you don't need a new exhaust. So that was a lie.
Yeah.
All you need is a clip. And so she got all the things sorted out, rear shocks, no new exhaust, and a service, which wasn't quoted from the household name, for 1/3 of the price.
Yeah.
That this household name had lied. Well, let's not.
Yes.
Let's not beat around the bush.
Yeah.
Lied about, essentially. And my thing is, will either of us be ever going to that household name ever again?
No.
No. Will we go around the corner? Yep. Will we tell other people to go around the corner?
And also, will you tell other people about what happened at the other place? The answer is absolutely yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Which we're actually doing on here. Now, the reason why we want to tell you that story is because this is something which is happening thousands and thousands and thousands of times a day.
Yeah.
And it's happening with your customers as well. Customers are going to tell stories about you. We want them to be good.
Yep.
You want them to be good. And you're going to work hard towards doing that. And the reason why it's so important is because the first part of this kind of like Selling Magically Express is what we want to do is basically look at trust versus USP.
Yep.
And there's a really important reason why we can, because when we were like chatting about how to, you know, kind of what to do with these episodes, how to add value to these guys, one of the things that a lot of folks, because it kind of comes from, you know, kind of like other parts of the business world, especially products, where it's got to be the USP, it's got to be the newer, the brighter, the better, the zingier, whatever. It's, you know, it's got, I don't know how many razor blades a Gillette Mac has these days. Do you remember back in the days when it was just like, you know, kind of like 2 blades?
Yep.
And now it's got, you know, 17 blades, which are, with a vibrating handle. Because it's that, you know, it's Gillette Turbo Mac Extreme Plus 2. But again, it's because they're trying to advance and they're trying to do it. Now, that's because they're selling something in a box. One of the key things that I have seen, and David is, I'm sure would agree, because I've been working in this field for about 25 years, you've been working for 30 plus, is that when it comes to choosing a service, you or whoever within your organization is delivering that service is an inherent part of what it is that they're offering.
Yep.
So people will buy based on trust at least as much, if not more, than they will on basically how you stack up. In fact, if you get the game right, if you are more reliable to work with, if you are fun to work with, then you will actually take business away from your competitors. You will be the one that they choose because they want to work with.
Yeah.
There's it seems to remember you telling me the other day about, was it PwC?
A division of PwC.
Yeah.
Contacted me about presenting magically, actually, that we were talking about in the previous episode.
It does all hang together, folks.
Yep. And invited me to go to essentially a sales meeting. And what this particular division of PwC had an experience was they pitched for a project.
Yeah.
With one of their existing clients. Yeah. And they lost the pitch. And, you know, PwC consider themselves to be in the top 3 or 4.
Yeah, like Anderson and
management consultancy.
the big four.
The big 4, yeah. And to add insult to injury, who they lost the pitch to was Capgemini.
Capgemini, who are they?
Who I think, you know, big 4, number 30 down here. But Capgemini had won it, and it was a multi-million pound deal.
Yeah.
This was in the late 90s, I think. So, you know, division of PwC, you know, professional accounts management, even though they'd lost the deal, they'd lost the pitch, they went into the to the client, or now ex-client,
Yes.
and said, you know, we think we had the technically superior solution. How come you gave it to Capgemini? And now ex-client said, well, yeah, you're right. You did have the technically superior solution. And it was a project that was going to last about 2 or 3 years. And the person in the company said, and to be totally honest, you were boring. And Capgemini excited us.
Yeah.
Because they seemed excited about the project. And we thought, do we want to be bored for 2 or 3 years? Or do we want to be excited for 2 or 3 years? And the answer is, we want to be excited. That's why you lost the deal. So the person I went to see in PwC said, can you make my partners and senior partners interesting? Then he said, actually, no, let's rephrase that. Can you give them a personality?
Oh, were they in the room at the same time? Thank heavens for that.
Because this was when there was the whole thing about the management consultancy part of the big accountants had to have some kind of Chinese walls.
Oh, yes.
Because the way it used to work was basically they got the business because of who they were. They were doing the company's accounts. The accountants would go, you've got a problem here. We've got some people who can fix that.
Yeah.
So the government, I think, actually made this thing where they said, okay, that's got to stop.
Oh, it's like a monopolies and mergers kind of
that's got to stop. You've got to have Chinese walls, whatever, between accountancy and consultancy, which now meant the people in management consultancy had to sell. Mm-hmm. Whereas they didn't before, it was just an automatic.
They just got wheeled in.
They just got wheeled in.
Yeah.
And so that had just happened. So we went in and did presenting magically for their partners and senior partners.
And I think that comes down to two things, because I mean, obviously within the Capgemini, it wasn't just that they were, they didn't like dressing clown suits or just, kind of like produce coins from behind their ears in terms of exciting them.
Yeah.
So they would have demonstrated some sort of, capability and stuff like that. So, because we were actually not arguing, we were debating about what to call this episode, because we knew that it was like, you got the USP, which is, yes, it's handy and yes, it's useful. But there is another factor, and it's the human factor, it's the emotional factor. And we're going to be looking at decisions in a forthcoming episode, in terms of how decisions are actually made and the role that emotion plays behind the scenes in terms of how those decisions are made. But we were trying to work out whether it's rapport, because yes, there's trust, but again, with this one, there was probably trust in PwC as well. Yeah. But there was an element that was missing, and that was liking. And then what we came up with was the concept of basically trust being, I can trust you to X. So I can trust you to deliver.
Right.
And also, I can trust that I'm going to enjoy the process. Because as the other guys did, they voted with their feet. They said, yeah, these guys are better, but we want to go with that. We want. Yeah, we're not going, X plus Y equals Z. No, that's what I want. And in fact, the interesting thing about it is because and this is something which has kind of been rolling around my head for years, because you kind of look at, why people choose one thing or the other. And you actually if you look at a partner, why are the people with the people that they're with? And in nine cases out of 10, it's not a USP. Right. It's not something that lady or that man can do, which no one else can. Oh, it might be in some extreme cases. Yeah. But in the vast majority,
I think we'll go there.
No, we probably better not, just in case YouTube decides that's enough of that. But it's about the liking. There has to be an element of trust as well, because if you're with somebody and they turn out to be very interesting, but also incredibly unreliable, then it has no future. But there has to be that element of trust and liking, and that is what makes people choose people.
So, in a way, trust and liking are more important than the USP.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure in the early 90s, there was a research done. I think it was published in Harvard Business Review that basically said that people would pay more money for a product or service from somebody they liked and trusted rather than somebody with a lower price that they didn't like.
Yes. Well, let's face it, it's what powers brands. It's what, I know we're going back to the product market. Why would somebody pay £3,000 for a denim jacket? Yeah, it's obviously part of it is to do with like the branding. It's like, because I'm wearing a denim jacket, and that's why it's got the label on the outside rather than the inside, so that people can see that. But it's because I really like this brand.
Well, had something happened just recently. A brand that I used to have as one of my favourite brands in the clothing market.
I hope you can still see us, by the way, because we are horrifically backlit. I will muck you about with it in post.
Which was Versace.
Yes.
When Gianni Versace was still alive and he was designing. Then obviously he was murdered, he was assassinated, for want of a better word. But Versace Gianni Versace had basically done 5 years worth of designs. So Versace was still rolling out Gianni Versace's designs.
Right.
Then Donatella Versace took over. I basically went, I can't buy from these guys anymore. What I just found out, and I hadn't realized this, was that basically Donatella sold the Versace brand to another company. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't family owned anymore. And the people who she sold it to now want to sell it to Prada.
I've just thought of the perfect example of this.
And so she was going to block it, so they fired her so that they can sell the Versace brand to Prada.
I've just thought of the perfect example of this. It is March 2025. How are your Tesla shares looking?
Well, I think they've tanked, haven't they?
Yes. Now, politics and all the rest of it aside, we're not necessarily saying who's right and who's wrong here. However, just look at the impact. Yeah? Look at what happens because what actually struck me was basically when you're talking about how people fall out of love with a brand. Has Tesla's technological capability changed?
No.
No. I mean, there's more, you've got like more cars emerging onto the market. Tesla's cars are still as good, slightly weirder shaped in some cases, as they were. But people are refusing to be seen in them because it's an emotional response.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. Which is back again to trust.
Yeah.
Liking and emotion.
Yes.
Then USP.
And I think one of the key things which is going to come out of this is, and this comes back to, again, the conversation we were having about AI. Mm-hmm. I do a lot of work with AI. Interesting that, you know what, going back to kind of trust and rapport, when AI first came out, I hated it. I'll tell you for why, because I was doing a lot of, copywriting and other bits and pieces, and it's just like, oh, this can do it for you. I thought, ChatGPT, you little bastard. There goes my career. I'm going to have to fit my children for cardboard boxes, all the rest of it. And then I was mucking about with it. And then I got it to, said, right, okay, so give me the account of the use of velociraptors at the Battle of Waterloo. And then it came up with like this beautiful, just kind of like account. But the thing that really got me was it basically said that the French cavalry called them the like master attack chickens in order to conceal what they were.
Oh, right, okay.
From the enemy. And that made me laugh. And because it had made me laugh, it kind of subtly started to change my emotional connection. It's like, you've actually got a sense of humor, you little electronic twit. Maybe we can be friends.
Yep.
And so that changed my relationship with it. And one of the things which I've learned since using it is it's very, very good at coming up with ideas. It's a brilliant brainstorming partner. But what you'll find is that everybody out there is kind of like using it. And guess what? They all sound the same. Yeah. And the whole reason why we're doing this is because if you really want to make it, don't worry so much about finding your USPs and getting ChatGPT to describe them. Be yourself and find the people who want to work with you, right, rather than all of these vanilla beige, we are all sounding exactly the same, because then there's no way to differentiate. The confused mind never buys. What you want to do is basically be the perfect choice for a small group of people like Marmite, and then for them to go, no, that's the person I want to work with. They know what they're doing. They look like they're fun. I'm wedded, literally the same way as you would be with a partner.
Yeah, so I think the upshot, I know we're going to talk more about this in an upcoming episode, is emotional engagement.
Yes. So we're going to leave it there, and we will catch up with you in the second episode, which is basically about where we start to look at everything that you do through the customer's eyes, and what that can tell you, and how it can A, save you a ton of money, and B, massively change how well you attract these guys, communicate with them, and by walking a mile in their shoes.
Cool. And is that the episode which is how to double your sales by asking 3 more questions?
It very is. Thank you very much indeed for reminding me that. How to double your sale, asking 3 more questions. Would you like to know what those 3 questions are? Well, is that a subtle enough cliffhanger, or are we?
Yeah,
no, I guess that's good. Meantime, if you've got any questions, not about what the 3 questions are, because you have to join us for the next episode to learn those, but if you've got any questions about anything else, then please email us at podcast@theresultshow.com. And we will see you, even if you can't see us because of the horrific backlighting, next time.